Hi. Let us talk about teacher-made test construction.
This is Jack's Insights. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates.
The quality of test construction depends largely on the part of the classroom teacher. Every classroom teacher is interested to know how far and how deep he can facilitate, orient, and guide his students with the knowledge, ideas, abilities, skills, and attitudes that he wishes to build up, in order to achieve his teaching objectives and to make his students responsive to the changing needs of the society. He is in the best position to ascertain the strengths and weaknesses of his students. Also, the needs of his students and the goals he wants to achieve. Teacher-made tests have proved their value in the understanding of concepts, vocabulary, information, computational ability, and other learning outcomes. A teacher who wishes to be competent in designing tests should determine the type of test best suited to achieve a definite aim and the techniques for constructing these types. The different techniques in constructing teacher-made tests may guide him to fulfill satisfactorily the measurement that he needs. The two types of tests are objective and subjective. Objective tests do not depend on the person or individual taking the test. Regardless of who is taking the test, the same measurement values should be obtained when using an objective assessment procedure. In contrast, subjective tests often differ from one assessor to the next even if the same quantity or quality is being measured. There are two types of objective tests, recall and recognition. The two types of recall are simple recall and completion. These are the types of recognition: alternative response, multiple choice, matching type, rearrangement, identification, and analogy. The simple recall is the first type of recall. This is one of the easiest to construct among the objective types, where the item appears as a direct question, a stimulus word or phrase, or a specific direction. The response is usually short. These are the rules and suggestions for the construction of simple recall. 1. The response should be brief, a simple word, number, symbol, or phrase. 2. Direct question form is preferable to statement form. 3. The blanks for the responses should be in a column, preferably at the right column of the items. 4. There should be one correct response if possible. Otherwise, all acceptable answers should be included in the answer key. 5. Make minimum use of textbook language in wording the questions. Observe proper and clear paraphrasing. Those are the rules and suggestions for the construction of a simple recall. This is a sample format for the simple recall type. The second type of recall is completion. This test consists of a series of items that require the subject to fill a word or phrase on the blanks. An item may contain one or more blanks. The first rule under the completion type is to give a reasonable basis for the desired response. Avoid indefinite statements. Avoid indefinite statements, just like this one. Miriam Defensor Santiago was born. What do you think is wrong with the example? For this example, there is no definite basis on either. The item requires the date or place of birth. Try to observe the improved form of this example. This time, It is now clear that the needed answer is the date. The second sub-rule of rule number 1 is to avoid over-mutilated statements. Over-mutilated statements are statements that have so many cuts or alterations caused by putting so many blanks in an item. As a result, it is now hard to determine the content of the statement because of the lack of details. Just like this one. Can you able to answer that kind of item? So, let us see the improved form. This time, it is now answerable. The second rule is to avoid giving unwanted clues. The first sub-rule is to avoid lifting statements directly from the book. In the second sub-rule, you should omit only keywords or phrases rather than trivial details. The third one is whenever possible avoid a or an before a blank. Sub-rule number 4, do not indicate the expected answer by varying the length of blanks or by using a dot for each letter in the correct word. 5. Guard against the possibility that one item or part of the test may suggest the correct response to another item. 6. Avoid giving grammatical clues to the expected answer. Rule number 3. Arrange the test so as to facilitate scoring. You should allow 1 point for each blank and avoid fractional credits. Select items that have only one correct response if possible. If possible, the responses should be in the column at the right of the sentences. Number 4. Scoring is rapid if the blanks are numbered. Especially for our paragraph. Number 5. All acceptable answers, in case of varied responses, should be included on a key. For the recognition type. The first type of recognition is an alternative response. This test consists of a series of items where it admits only one correct response in each item from the 2 or 3 constant options to be chosen. This type is commonly used in classroom testing, particularly the 2 constant alternative type or true or false type. Other forms are right or wrong, plus or minus, yes or no, correct or incorrect, etc. Other types of constant alternative, 3 constant alternative type, for instance, true-false, doubtful, and constant alternative with the correction or modified true-false type. Rule number 1. Do not give a hint, inadvertently, in the body of the question. Like for example, the Philippines gained its independence in 1898 and therefore celebrated its centennial year in 2000. Is it true or false? And which part of the statement gives an unintentional hint? So the year 1898. If we are to revise this statement, we should not include 1898 in the statement since the is the job of the students to know that year, so that he can determine whether the statement is true or false. 2. Avoid using the words always, never, often and other adverbs that tend to be either always true or always false. For example, Christmas always falls on a Sunday because it is a Sabbath day. This is totally false since not always that Christmas fall on a Sunday. 3. Avoid long sentences as these tend to be true. Like the example. But not all long sentences are either always true or false. You should also ensure that the ideas in the statement have an agreement, so as to have only one answer for that item. Like for example, the first part of this statement is true but the second part is also false. So there is no definite answer for this one. 4. Avoid trick statements with some minor misleading words or spelling anomalies, misplaced phrases, etc. Like this one, the principal of our school is Mr. Juan de la Cruz. The word principal makes the statement false, which is not a good way of giving a trick to your students. 5. Avoid quoting verbatim from reference materials or textbooks. In other words, do not copy the statement in your reference book word for word. 6. Avoid specific determiners or giveaway qualifiers. Strongly worded statements, with never, no, all, or always. Just like the previous rule, since these adverbs tend to give hints to the students. 7. Avoid a grossly disproportionate number of either true or false statements or even patterns of their occurrence. In other words, do not give a true or false type in which there are more true items than false items and vice versa. This is the sample format for the alternative response type. If you are interested in the other types of recognition tests, please view my other videos for the teacher-made tests. Thank you for viewing the video. I hope you get something about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.